Well, that was a song called In Trouble Again by Stuart Copeland, ex of the Police, ex adapting the Magic Roundabout theme to be the theme for The Equalizer. And this was a theme to your final choice, Phil, which is...
Droids, the thankfully largely forgotten cartoon from the mid-80s, which, amazingly, they managed to get Anthony Daniels to voice C-3PO. Really wasn't very good at all. The animation was fairly terrible. This was post-Return of the Jedi, so it's not like George Lucas needed the money at this point or anything. This is not a Star Wars Holiday Special situation.
Well, you say that, but that was a kind of weird black hole of Star Wars when... I wouldn't say Star Wars was forgotten at that point. There was very little interest in the whole franchise. And yet they kept on churning out things like Caravan of Courage and Droids, which I remember liking because it had cameos from like other droids like IG-88 in it.
I think that's pronounced IG-88 rather than IG-88.
It is IG-88 to me. That's what it'll always be called. But the other thing I remember is it was that unpopular that forever in the bargain bin in Woolworths there were about 50 copies of Droid Special The Great Heap on VHS.
Well, it's because it turned out, Tim, that what people liked about Star Wars was not the two robot characters that provided comic relief. Or rather, they did, but they didn't like it when all they did was move in a poorly animated way from frame to frame and have tedious adventures.
And there were Droids action figures, which apparently are now worth a fortune because nobody bought them.
Yes, and I imagine most of the ones that were bought broke immediately.
Or were broken immediately. Yeah, oh God, you got me Droids.
If the quality of the toys was anything like the quality of the cartoon, we're up there with the GoBots.
Now, two very important questions, though. Actually, no, make it three. One, was there a Droids video game?
Well, there was, but there was also another video game which, if you'd got a well-meaning grandparent who knew you liked Star Wars, would almost certainly buy this one instead because it was significantly cheaper. So there was a game for the C64 and the BBC Micro and probably other systems as well called R1D1.
Now I'm going to ask: is this Droid canon? What level Star Wars canon is it? Just tell the ladies and gentlemen about Star Wars canon.
Oh, Star Wars canon level. So So all of the canon level stuff has been completely erased now since Disney got the franchise. So it used to be that there were different levels of canon. So if it had been on screen in a film, it was G canon, which was the highest level of canon. And then I can't even remember what the other ones were. There was T canon, and there
was one for the back of like the C-3PO soap or something, wasn't there?
Yeah, but
that level of canon.
It was like,
this isn't fans. This is official, isn't it? Or it was official, rather.
Well, there was a person whose job it was to work out the levels of canonicity for things. So basically, if you were at the bottom level of canon, which was like promotion, the back of cereal boxes or something like that, you know, as long as nothing else higher up contradicted it, that was canon. So if anyone had ever written anything about Star Wars and nothing else that had been in a book, in a comic, on a TV show or in a film, then that counted.
But R1D1,
yeah,
what did he look? I'm guessing he looked kind of like R2D2.
He did a bit, yeah. But it was a puzzly, side-scrolly, platformy type of game that had nothing to do with Star Wars at all, other than a name that sounded like it was, and some box art that looked like it might be something to do with Star Wars without actually being Star Wars.
Well, we'll go on to my final questions about it then, which is, one, yeah, you went mad on Droids, but did you prefer it to Ewoks?
That's a really hard question, because I didn't like either of them very much. I loved Star Wars. I mean, why wouldn't you love Star Wars when you sort of... I would have been like 3 when Return of the Jedi came out, and I got Return of the Jedi toys and things that we got from Lewis's in Manchester. And I distinctly remember there was a whole floor given over to toys, and a huge section of it was all Star Wars stuff. And we moved down here when I was 6, but my memory of that toy area that Christmas is absolutely vivid, and I'm fairly sure that we were there for my dad more than we were there for me, but that's stuck in my head. But the spin-off stuff like Droids and Ewoks, I couldn't stand. It was terrible. Like Caravan of Courage can just die in a bin as far as I'm concerned. Was that the second one or the first one?
It was the first one, wasn't it?
What was the second one?
The Ewoks go Hawaiian.
I would like a Saved by the Bell spin-off featuring the Ewoks.
That's my final question: is how much fun is it to remind too cool for school Star Wars fanatics this stuff existed?
Oh, there's all sorts of absolute garbage in the Star Wars expanded universe. There was a character in one of the books called Lord Nyax who had lightsabers on his elbows, knees, shins, and somewhere else as well, I'm fairly sure. So he just looked like a fucking windmill made out of lightsabers. If you took the description to its logic, someone's done fan art of him somewhere along the way. So don't pretend that this series was anything other than ludicrous at any point. Even just the films themselves are nonsense.